Well, good morning. This is part two of God Has a Plan for You. God's big picture includes you, part two. Before we get into that, though, I wanted to just explain that in part one, it was very interesting. I had what you saw in part one was a man who basically had rolled out of bed and tried to be obedient to God. Um, well, that's pretty wild when God does that. And it's a good idea to be obedient. It can be scary, but it's always worth it, always rewarding. And I hope that you were blessed. Um, so if you were, don't forget to hit a like, maybe even subscribe, and maybe I'll put out some more of these. So we'll see. Um, it's all in God's hands, isn't it? It's all about God. Uh, so with that, I did get a chance to comb my hair today. So um, this is part two, and what I want to focus on is we understand that God's big picture is about the war, the real war that is fought through man between God and Satan. And Satan's desire to break the heart of God. And doing so by trying to kill, steal, and destroy God's precious creature, man. To kill his spirit, to steal his life, and to destroy his very soul. And as we talked about, God has a plan, and that plan includes redemption. What that means is we have a choice. We have a choice to prove that Satan was correct in telling God that given a choice, man will curse you, God, to your face. Or we can choose to believe and trust, honor, and glorify the God, the Creator, who has given us life and given us an opportunity to respond, to be grateful, and through thanksgiving, and through coming to Christ, coming to the living God, humbly receiving the love that's in Christ for us, to walk in our salvation and let our light shine and prove that God was right, that God doesn't make mistakes. And when he created man, he created a good thing, he created a beautiful thing. So that's what it's all about. It's our choice. It's one or the other. So I wanted to talk this morning about why would we choose to surrender to God, to prove that God's plan is perfect? And why should we choose to walk in his plan, in his big picture? Why should we choose to just lay it all down, to walk away from the things that we think are pleasing, worthwhile, the things that we think are worth living for, worth partaking of? Why would we give all that up? Well, because in the end, we understand that to not receive the love of God is to choose selfishness, is to choose death when God offers us life. Oh, you may have heard all this before, but until it becomes real, it's just fairy dust. But is it? Is it? Is it real for you? Why would we choose? Why would we care whether God was right or not? Why would we care whether or not Satan was right? No. The book of Ecclesiastes says, eat, drink, be merry, for tomorrow we die. I think that's what it boils down to. We're going to choose a hopeless existence or the reality of life. Life in this world, and then so much more. Well, obviously it's a decision that each human being, man, woman, hopefully child, has to make on their own. Understanding that the lie, the facade is that, well, you don't have to choose. Actually, by not choosing, you are choosing. You're choosing death. The choice for life is not a passive one. It takes guts. It takes wisdom. Sometimes it takes desperation. Sometimes it just takes simple gratitude. But it always boils down to the grace of God. Everything begins and everything ends with God. The mighty, wonderful, precious, sometimes eluding, sometimes it appears to be always escaping, and yet always present, the grace of God. The Bible says that God desires for no one to perish, but that everyone would come to his saving knowledge. But It doesn't always happen that way, does it? And the more you get closer to the things of God, to God, the more you see where many people, like sheep going off a cliff in some kind of stampede, are dying. They're going to hell. That the saying, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die, is true for them. Because they refuse to humbly forsake those things that truly are meaningless in the end. Meaningless. And really are just more simply a lie, you know. Party, have a great time, and then you wake up in the morning. You don't feel so good, do you? Was it worth it? Well, that's your decision, isn't it? You have these voids that were placed there by God. We all have a void that needs to be filled that only God can fill. But because of pride, because of buying a lie, we refuse to humble ourselves. And we try to fill that void with stuff. We try to fill that void with that loneliness, that never-ending pit, black hole that's in our soul. We try to fill it with drugs and alcohol and the lust of the flesh and the greed of money and things, fame, the pursuit of fame, power. Have you really ever looked at the life of those who took that route? I have. I used to work in the entertainment business. Some of the most well-renowned, some world-renowned stars